Hello and welcome to another episode of Debriefing. I'm your host, Lucky Fox Zero, and as with me as always is No Green Knights
Hello.
and Radiant Arkwolf.
What up, briefcakes?
On this episode of Debriefing, we're going to be playing through Spartan Ops Episode 2, Chapter 5, and the topic for today is the Promethean weapons. So if you could get us started, Radiant, with the...
Sure. I think that, the Promethean weapons are an interesting visual set, as well as an interesting weapon set to the, traditional binary juxtaposition of, Covenant and UNSC. All the weapons feel like they're Forerunner, and that's really interesting, and I like that. They're futuristic, they assemble themselves, they're different color, they use different kind of hard light ammo. It's really interesting. So, I was excited too when I saw the previews that Promethean weapons, like, awesome. My only critique, I think, would be that Halo 4 runs into the same ground as Halo 3 and Reach by saying, you need these weapons, you need to use them all the time. Promethean weapons are your new best friend. You better like them, because we're going to keep throwing them at you. Whereas they did the same with the DMR and the assault rifle in Reach, and then the assault rifle in Halo 3. It's like, you have all this diversity, let me use it. Don't keep shoving this stuff down my throat. But overall, Promethean weapons, pretty cool.
No agree?
I definitely agree with that, especially the part about, them kind of being forced down your throat. Now, I mean, it's very obvious that the 343 team did put a lot of effort into the weapons, and they function very well. They look, for the most part, really good, and they do have a lot of good aesthetics to them. I do think they suffer from the same problem that a lot of the other Prometheans have, which is, some of them are a little bit overpowered. You've got the scatter shot, it's semi-automatic, and, it has a longer range than your, pump action shotgun with the UNSC, and then you also have, the incineration cannon, which is, it's a rocket launcher that has a secondary explosion, and it has the same amount of power as the Spanker does for the UNSC, so...
I like the Promethean weapons. I think they look pretty cool. I definitely agree with you guys on that, and I want to commend 343 for envisioning a entirely new weapon set that I feel fulfills a lot of different niches that the Covenant and UNSC weapon sets do not fill. Shooting light rifle, or not shooting hard light bullets is kind of cool. I was a bit leery about it initially. I thought it would be a little redundant, and I didn't think they'd be that cool. But I was wrong. I think they actually have worked out pretty well. I think the light rifle is an interesting choice, and once I learned about what it did, I thought it was going to be more of a favorite than it is. Because it's definitely a combination between the DMR and the battle rifle, with its burst fire and then heavy-hitting semi-automatic fire. I like the light rifle. It's not my favorite, but I like it. It's pretty good.
Yeah, it's probably one of the weapons I used the most, probably the first and second time I went through campaign. It's interesting. Again, it's very Forerunner-esque, and that's really cool. And it does have this middle ground between the DMR and the BR, which makes it unique and a juxtaposition to the the carbine, so it's, it stands on its own, which is probably difficult to do when you have such iconic weapons such as the DMR, BR, and carbine.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with that. I mean, it is pretty much your only reach weapon, with the exception of the binary rifle, of the Promethean weapon. So you do see a lot of it during campaign, and you're pretty much forced to get used to it there. Not my favorite reach weapon. I still have to say I prefer the DMR, and even really the carbine. To the light rifle, but maybe that's just because I haven't really given it too much of a chance.
Yeah, I still prefer the DMR to the light rifle, but I think it's a solid choice. One of my favorite Promethean weapons is actually the suppressor. The suppressor reminds me a lot of the old SMG, which is my favorite Halo automatic weapon, because of its somewhat inaccuracy and its high rate of fire. But I really don't like the way it looks, and I don't like the way it feels, and I don't like the fact that the hard light bullets are slower than regular bullets. So I find its range a lot more limited when compared to the old SMG, especially to the ODST SMG, which was slightly more accurate and had the scope. So I still miss that, but I think the suppressor is a legitimate weapon. I enjoy using it simply because it reminds me of the SMG.
Yeah, I mean, it was it's definitely the closest thing I normally get to my kind of normal mainstay weapons. So I mean, I have used it quite a bit. It's not really one I would say, again, not particularly my favorite. I don't prefer Promethean weapons when I can get, human weapons or, to some extent, even Covenant weapons. But, have used it a lot. It is basically their version of the SMG, as you said, or possibly the assault rifle. So, I mean, it works.
So it sounds like, Corey, for you, the Promethean weapons aren't what it's hit for you. Like you say, you prefer the UNSC and even the Covenant over the Promethean. Is that a familiarity thing, or is that a stylus thing or gameplay thing?
Honestly, I would say it's probably just a matter of personal preference, as far as what I'm comfortable with. So familiarity would probably be the closest one.
Okay.
So, it's not to say I won't use them, but, if I have the choice, I'll typically go with, the human weapons, over everything else.
I too will definitely go with UNSC weaponry over anything else, but I definitely prefer the Promethean weapons to Covenant weapons.
I'm the Resident Elite, so I prefer the Covenant. So I guess if I had my choice, I would choose Covenant, and then UNSC, and then Promethean. As much as I like the Promethean weapons, I feel like I just use them far too much in campaign to actively choose them in multiplayer or in any other field. I just I'm rammed down my throat too much for me to pick them up.
I definitely think at least some of the kind of hesitancy to use them is in that regard.
So like Promethean fatigue.
Something like that, yeah.
I definitely can agree with that. That it doesn't really feel much like a choice. I feel like we're forced into using them a lot in the campaign instead of we get to use them in the campaign. But we haven't talked about the scatter shot or the bolt shot. Now I know the bolt shot is a highly debated and a lot of feelings around the bolt shot in competitive multiplayer because of its ability to one-shot kill with its charged up function, and I feel like it has a greater range for its one-shot kill than the UNSC shotgun, and that too has been a point of contention, especially when someone can spawn with that, and then someone who has, the shotgun as a ordnance drop or is founded on the map, has a power weapon, they feel like they should win. And I agree. I would like to see the bolt shot become more of like a revolver or a heavy pistol, where each shot does more damage, but it fires much slower, and its shotgun function not overheat the weapon, but also not give one-shot kills.
Yeah, I think that would definitely be a good compromise for it. And I will say that I agree with your assessment of, how it is set up in multiplayer and the feelings on it there.
Yeah, I don't pick up the bolt shot very often. I just haven't gotten a feel for it the way I have with other weapons. But I definitely have been killed by it enough times to know that it's a beast when a person who knows what they're doing has it in their hands. So it could be toned down, and I would not be opposed to that. As far as the scatter shot, again, that's a strong boy. I think it's an interesting addition. It's an automatic shotgun, something that Halo hasn't really had prior. Definitely hurts when someone else has it in their hands, but it's really useful in yours when you're trying to clear out a room or trying to clear out crawlers or whatever. I think it's a good addition, if not sometimes an overused one.
Yeah, I mean, like I said earlier, I think it's a little bit unbalanced just because it is, semi-auto. It's got a little bit longer range than the UNSC shotgun, which, again, has a slower rate of fire. And, it's just, it seems like it's a little bit more powerful than it should be at first glance.
Yeah, I mean, if it was throttled back just a hair, I think it would be fine. I think it is balanced decently. I don't think it's, unforgivably overpowered. I don't think it's the biggest problem in the weapon set or anything. But, just a little touch up, I think is all it needs. I like the binary rifle a lot. I think I would not like it very much in another shooter game, but in Halo I think it works. I like the way it looks and how it feels. It obviously feels stronger. I wish that the human sniper rifle was a little bit stronger by comparison, and that the beam rifle carried a few more shots, so you'd have this gradient of fast firing, weaker, medium, and then slow firing, not many rounds, heavy damage gradient to the sniper rifles, which is not really the case. But I think it's an interesting take on what a sniper rifle could be in a shooter game.
Agreed. I mean, it also, it is somewhat more balanced than it could be, because it does have the same kind of thing that you get with the Spartan laser. You get the little warning laser to kind of let you know somebody's out there, somebody's gunning for you with it.
Yeah.
Now,
the incineration cannon can be very annoying.
Yeah, I will say the incineration cannon I do feel is definitely overpowered, because you got the initial rocket, which is about as powerful, if not the same power as the Spanker for the UNSC, but then you have the secondary little mushroom explosion too.
I like the incineration cannon because it is so ridiculous, and I think that kind of reminds me of the old Halo 1 days of the rocket launcher and its nuclear-sized explosion. And as long as I'm not taking it seriously, the incineration cannon doesn't bother me, but when I'm trying to be competitive or like complete some sort of challenging campaign, I do find it frustrating at times. Um, One thing that I kind of miss is that there is no sentinel beam, like as like a turret type weapon or even as a mobile infantry weapon. There is no sentinel beam, and I wish the sentinel beam was somehow worked back into the weapon set, to show the Forerunner weapon heritage type of deal. And
I think that's a glaring misstep. Promethean weapon set.
Also, the pulse grenades I think are really interesting. I think they're very difficult to use, but I do think that's an interesting take on grenades, and I think they end up working. Although I don't like you only get one instead of two. I think that's kind of stupid.
Yeah, I mean they're interesting. I think it's a unique addition, but the learning curve on them is really steep. You have to practice with them a lot in order to get the right play, and you have to basically trick Prometheans to get killed by them. It's not as intuitive as the Covenant or the UNSC grenade.
So Nogri, what is your favorite Promethean weapon?
If I'm kind of my standard, automatic weapon, obviously is going to be the suppressor. And even though it's broken, I do like the incineration cannon.
Radiant?
I like the scatter shots and probably the binary rifle the best.
Oh, I didn't expect you to say the sniper rifle.
Well, it's strong, and I can use it better in campaign than I can the human sniper rifle. As I said previously, I just haven't learned that one very well. So if I have a choice, I pick up the binary rifle because I know I'm more confident in my shot, and you get it more often in campaign than you ever do the human sniper rifle. So.
My favorite weapons are the suppressor and the binary rifle. Those are my favorite Promethean weapons. And that does it for this episode of Debriefing. Please leave a comment below, and don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you here next week.